thank you for joining us for Mom Talk. Today we're going to be discussing disciplining your children. So Jessica, what are some things like that you agree with or disagree with on disciplining children?
Well, my views of parenting and what we actually do are two separate stories. You always have a great idea in your head of how you would like things, and we try to follow it as most as we can. The biggest thing is that we want them to be independent and confident adults later, and so we don't want to break their spirit, so we don't do any negative punishings. Mm-hmm. We try to keep everything positive reinforcements, redirecting, and all that. But of course, as you become a mom, you decide, well, I'm going to raise my child this way, and I'm going to raise my child this way, but at the end of the day, your child raises you. And so each child is so different that, with my older son, for example, today, he took off his diaper, and he pooped all over the living room while I was putting his clothes away. And so I came out and looked at the mess for the 100th time in a row and said, Sebastian, you mustn't do this. Okay, let's go get dressed and get cleaned up. So I took him a shower, put him in timeout, and said, okay, you've got to sit there now because you're being bad and I need this behavior to change. And so he keeps crawling out of timeout, and I say, Sebastian, do you want a spanking? And he goes, yeah, and hits his bottom. So obviously, we have a little troublemaker at our house, but, at the end of the day, my mother-in-law gave me great advice on close to our wedding, and she said you can't go wrong if you just love them. So that's what we try to do. Like, frustration and all, we just love him, and we try to look at his negative behaviors and see the positive in him. And at least at the end of the day, my child is confident. My child trusts and knows that
I can poop on that floor.
I can poop on that floor and be creative, and nothing will, and my parents will still love me.
Yeah. I mean, I know what you're talking about as far as, like, before you have kids, it's like, I'm the perfect mom, and that kid's acting out in the grocery store because his parents aren't disciplining them enough. And then you become a mother, and it's your child acting up in the store, even though that you have, set a good example for her, and you don't really tolerate it, and you're the one running through the grocery store, pleading, please, God, just stop screaming for 3 minutes so I can buy these groceries and get out of here. Yeah. But, same thing, it's like we tried a lot of redirecting from the get-go. Oh, no, don't climb that. Here, go play with this. And, we never wanted to jump straight to spanking or anything like that. You definitely want to try, like you said, positive discipline before you jump to the extremes. And Lily's just so adventurous and wants to be into things all the time. And it's not so much she's trying to be bad, it's I just want to explore. I just want to know what the world has to offer and look at this trial and error. We recently have started just trying to do timeouts whenever she is exhibiting a behavior we don't like throwing things. She loves to throw her cup. She loves to dump cups upside down more than anything. Like, she's spilled milk all over the carpet yesterday. I don't know how I'm going to get it out. But yeah, we do 2 minutes of timeout because she's 2 years old, and it just angers her so much. She is at her door screaming like a little banshee. But I think I do feel like it's working. I really feel like it gets the point across to her that, you can't do this. I know you can put Sebastian in timeout, and he'll actually sit there a lot of times. I have to actually put Lily in her room because she wants it so. Like, it just means nothing to her. I either have to sit and physically hold her or, send her to her room.
I was talking to a mom today, and she was saying that her daughter won't, like, mine will, it depends. She'll sit in timeout normally, but sometimes she wants to, like, if she's not looking, sneak out.
See what I can get away with.
Like, she baby gates. Like a hallway or a room, and it's like, okay, you can't get out of there.
We did that actually when she was a little bit younger because I had a problem with her trying to come into the kitchen when I was cooking and then just wanted to scream and, just things like that. So when we first started doing timeout, that's what we did was we had like a hallway and we had a gate right there. So we would put her in there just for her own safety too, as much as a temper tantrum. But like I said, now that she's a little older, we'll let her go to her room and scream out. Scream your feelings out.
Well, at least she just screams mine. She'll throws everything in her room. She has a horrible temper, and she'll seriously, like, she has a little play kitchen. She'll throw it down. She'll pull out all of her drawers. She'll get back.
It's so hard because they're young and they just have so many strong emotions, and they haven't really learned as an adult how to deal with them. And that's part of parenting is just teaching them. And that's one of the hard things in parenting too. How to control your emotions. And I think that's some things that some parents haven't done, and that's why we have some adults like we do now.
Yeah.
But it's been hard because my son, who has special needs, it's so different when it comes. You can't do normal parenting discipline, such as timeouts really don't work with him. We've been to several different classes, like I don't know if you ever heard of Love and Logic, where if they're wanting something, you don't want to give it to them, and you're like, oh, how sad for you, and you all smile on your face. Teaching them that you love them, but they're still not going to get what they want. Yeah. We've tried that, and that really didn't work. That just made them even more mad.
That was making me so mad. Somebody did that to me. Oh, how sad for you.
Yeah.
Now mommy's gonna do this, okay?
Well, I get a lot of advice because my child is very outgoing and energetic, and so I get the whole, has he been checked for autism or, something like that? I'm like, he's not autistic. He can say his ABCs and he's 2, But I read the book, The Spirited Child, and I don't know if you've read that or not, but that is a wonderful book. And that's what, like you said, you have to do different parenting techniques. And with Sebastian, we're still learning every day how to parent him and how to discipline him the correct way, because, you can't do those normal things with these spirited children, like the normal children,
Exactly.
But each child is different in how you discipline. As I've seen, as they're getting older and older, we don't spank at all. It's not an option. So we do timeout a lot. Did you hear that? We do timeout. But like, I have a daughter that I can speak to her, and she's emotional. So if I tell her that her actions are really disappointing, it's like horrible for her, and it really changes her mind. And then, my son, if I was to put him into timeout in his room, that really wouldn't affect him. If I was to take all these toys out of his room and you're in trouble for what you did when he was younger, then he would play with a doorknob. He could play with anything. It did not matter. So there's certain things that we learned that will work for one and not the other, and it just takes a little bit of time to figure out what one's going to work for this child. But if you're doing the same one over and over again and it's not working, you need to try something else, because if you don't have control, you're not going to get it. And as they get older, so we're talking about toddlers, but as they get older and teenagers, then it's different, because what they do isn't like pooping on the floor or dumping their cup. It's, what do you want?
Soap in your mouth?
When you say, do you want your mouth washed out? Oh, you're really going to do that? I mean, it's totally
shallow, but
it's not a challenge.
What are you going to do? Put them in timeout at 14?
Yeah.
That's not going to do anything.
Give me your
I think when they're older, right, it's easier to take things away. Where right now with Sebastian, I'm like, if he's pulling hair or something at a play date, well, we're leaving right now. Okay, let's go. And I'm like, that was supposed to be your punishment. Or I'll be like, well, you need to go in timeout, but he won't stay in timeout, so I have to sit there next to him, so it's one-on-one time with mommy. If I make him clean something up, he's like, woohoo, I'm clean, this is fun.
I'm curious, when you said that you do the love, 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 I've never done anything or even thought of anything like that in that particular way, but how does he know that he's done something that's disappointed you?
Well, I change my tone. He's 2, so as much as reason as possible. But when I was bathing him, of course he was like, woohoo, I'm in the shower, this is fun, this is great, because he had poop everywhere. But I said, Sebastian, mommy's very sad. I said, this is not good behavior, this is bad, this makes mommy sad that I have to clean all this up now. I said, you're really making me sad here. This isn't okay. He's 2, so you can only use so many words. But, I try to do that, and let him know, and even when he's in timeout and I'm sitting right across from him, I said, if you didn't do that, then we could be playing. But now you're going to sit here and do nothing because you're being bad, and you did that. And, I tried to tell him, we had him completely potty trained, where he would just take off his underwear and poop everywhere. Well, now we got frustrated, so we're like, fine, just put the pull-up back on him.
And did you say you had him completely potty trained?
Well,
he would just take it off?
Well, he was potty trained except for that. Except for that. But the fact is he knows he has to go because he gets his pants off, and his pants and his clean underwear are right there.
It's a control thing.
Yeah, it's a control thing.
Toddlers have control over two things: what they eat and where they go to the bathroom.
Yes. And Sebastian refuses to eat, and he'll poop wherever he wants. But he's two. But I give him the option. I said, you can poop in your diaper, or you can poop in the potty. Those are your options. Yeah. That's it. I mean, we've done positive reinforcement. We've done candy. We've done stickers. We've done toys. We've done. Okay, you went potty 3 times in a row in the potty, so we're gonna go to Chuck E. Cheese, and but I haven't found anything that works yet. But you will. Yeah. Eventually. Nobody
goes to high school not potty trained.
No.
Maybe
when we did with Desiree, as far as that, like, she kept having accidents, but I noticed that she wasn't stopping and thinking, I have to go to the bathroom. Like, you have to, so we set the timer on in the kitchen for, like, the oven, and when it beeps, you have to sit on the potty now.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have an option.
But the problem is he knows when he has to go.
Right. Well, she does too. Yeah. But she doesn't want to stop what she's playing. Right?
Well, he stops and takes his pants off and poops on the floor. Decorates the living room and everything else with it. So it's not that he can't, because he does not poop in his pants. He does not. You know what I mean? So if he can get his pants off, he can run to the bathroom.
Maybe put him on a onesie.
I've done that during the night and during his naps. During the night and during his naps. I took a footed pajama set and I cut the feet off, and then I put it on backwards and zip it up so he can't get the zipper. But because his feet, but because it's frontwards, he can get it. Yeah, a straight jacket may work. I know.
It's hard. It's so hard. Like, there's situations so far as a parent, I never would have thought of, like, how am I going to keep my kid from pooping all over the floor?
Yeah.
No, I never thought that was going to happen through my mind, but I was. No, we haven't even started potty training because my kid's so willful. I mean, we tried like for 5 minutes, and she would sit on the potty and she'd go, I did it, and I've done nothing. I'd be like, thanks for trying. Good job.
No, Sebastian will go potty, that's no problem. I just think eventually with enough positive reinforcement, eventually the behavior will be learned. It's not learned right at this moment.
Well, I know, like, when Austin was young, he was preschool, kindergarten, starting to go to kindergarten, we were seeing a psychiatrist that was helping us with the discipline and how to discipline with kids with special needs. And a lot of it was the positive behavior, but it was also the reward system. And to show kids that there are rewards for your positive behavior. There's rewards for when you do a good job at work, so kind of to do that. And so what he did is he had us choose 3 things that was pretty easy for Austin to do. And before we started, he got to choose like different rewards that he would want. It could be as little as choosing what we have for dinner that
night.
How old was he? He was preschool, kindergarten.
Okay, so like 4. Okay.
So 3.
Well, Sebastian would be able to tell.
Yeah, but and it was like, or he gets to pick a dessert, or something small that didn't cost a lot of money, but what he would like. And,
feel special.
Yeah, exactly.
Control.
And then he would have like the small rewards, and then he'd have a bigger reward. So we chose for him to take off his shoes. And put him in a certain spot when he said please and thank yous, and then I can't remember the last one. So every time he did this, he would get a token, and it was like little poker chips, and he would actually be able to hold on to them. And then so he would put it in his drawer, and then when he got to 5 tokens, then he could choose from the rewards that he picked out. And then so we did that, and then when we realized that those 3 rules that he could do no problem, then we made them a little bit harder. And so then that way it was exciting for him.
She saw there was an actual benefit to listening.
3 rules plus whatever? Like, did he just at that point get into the habit of doing it? Was it like building on your, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, it got to the point to where this was easy, I can do this no problem. And then that's when, okay, we know that he can do this. So at that point, he didn't get rewards for those because we knew that he could do that. And we would add on to them or, whatever we wanted the behavior to change. And
how this works on husbands.
And so then even, and then when he got to a little bit older level to where he understood a little bit more, if he did do something wrong or he forgot to do something, then he would get a token taken away. And so then he was really upset because then he wouldn't get his rewards. And that actually really helped for a while, at least until he got a little bit older, and then things started changing and we had to switch things up as he got older. But that really
That sounds like a really good idea. I bet that would work with Sebastian in like a year and a half. Like, I think that'd be something.
Yeah.
Just getting to that point where like they can actually understand the reward system. That's why
He would take the token and probably swallow it.
Yeah.
Or try really hard
or
to.
throw it at something.
Yeah.
Since his age, like, I mean, Desiree did the same thing when she was little. She pulled hair. I mean, she went through that stage of just like aggressive. I didn't even know where.
He's not aggressive.
He's not
aggressive.
like overnight. I'm like, where did this come
He's
from?
just creative.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's so much cause and effect with kids. It's I want to see what happens, and it's whether it's a positive or a negative reaction. They're getting a reaction from you. Lily recently with her face where she was biting. She bit Jessica's little boy.
Finger.
You know what's funny is she actually got her finger bit at daycare last week, and I was like, that's what happens when you bite kids. You get bit back. But you know, so they're toddlers. They don't get it, and you know, they just wanted to see what happens when I bite and mommy yells, or you know, I throw something and that milk splashes, and I know it's frustrating. And there are days that I just want to pull my hair out because I personally feel like I'm so concerned about the future of having like the, you know, sociopath that can't function in society because I didn't raise her properly. I live in fear of that.
Yeah.
I so desperately want to raise
You want to do the right thing.
Yes, a wonderful, loving, kind, considerate person. And
She will be.
Yeah, well, you know.
They just have to grow into it.
But it is. I mean,
This too shall pass.
Yeah.
I say that on the hour every hour when I'm
it is. I understand that fear. Like you're just like, okay, well, what am I doing? Am I doing this right? You know, how is it going to affect my kids? And I totally understand that.
You know what I don't like to hear? People to say something like, "Oh, that kid just needs a good butt whooping."
No.
I just don't agree.
I don't
You
either.
don't even
Are you
know-
teaching them to hit or what?
Are you going to get
What's the point
anger
of
out
it?
of it? I mean, and then they feel hurt, and I see that come across, you know, the computer often. Oh, that kid just needs a whooping, you know, and I'm thinking, no.
But see, in parents, like I know some parents spank, but like my parents spanked me, you know, and I'm grateful because, you know, I never skipped classes. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. None of that stuff I did because I was too afraid of my parents.
Here's my outlook on that. Spanking can be a tool.
Yeah.
It can be something in your pocket that you can use if you do it correctly, without force, without anger, with all that.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter what you do, but parenting is a building block.
not
Your
the
child
go-to
is
thing.
not going to be messed up if you yell at them once. They're not going to be a sociopath if you give them a cookie to shut them up that one time.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you do it right most of the time,
Yeah.
and it's a building block. One thing that I have real trouble with, you know, when you see a child acting out in the environment, not only do you look at them, but you look at the parent to see how they react to things. And I know at the ER, it's not the best place to see their best parenting because they've been waiting for a doctor for 4.5 hours and their child's sick and they have a child at school that they have to pick up and, you know, there's all these factors. But when you hear them talking to their child through the door that you know they can hear us, so they know, you know, we can hear them, of course, as well. And all you hear is, shut up, shut up, shut up. Just sit there and shut up. I don't want to hear another word out of you. Shut up. Like, that just breaks my heart that you're speaking to your child that way.
Yeah.
I mean, every time, you know, my husband and I, Sebastian is an intense child and very spirited. And, you know, we always try to keep a positive outlook on things and not discipline him so much for the negative things that he does because we don't want to break him. We look at this little sensitive child and this ego and, you know, if you're constantly yelling at them and yelling, they're going to be afraid to test anything out. They're going to be afraid of life to test out. They're going to be like, yeah, I don't feel secure enough to attempt that. Like, I don't know. So I guess I'd rather be a relaxed and go the gentle approach and, you know, than overdo it and have my child scared.
I was raised by my grandparents since I was 3 years old. And so living with my grandparents, they were raised completely different. And they raised their kids completely different than how people raise them today. There was no love and logic. There was no psychiatrist really to help out with parenting. And yes, I was spanked. I got my hair pulled. And I used to think, oh, my grandparents were so abusive. And that was really when the schools were pushing, you know, are you being abused at home? You know, are you getting any bruises? And, you know, and
people were starting to notice that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So, oh, I'm so abused, and I was so abused, and I can't believe they treated me this way. And, you know, and I look back now, though, at how it was. And they weren't abusive. Like, I didn't get smacked the whole entire time. And, you know, I wasn't the best kid in the world, especially in my high school life. I was probably horrible and gave my grandparents heart attacks. I don't know how they survived me. But I look back, and I thank God every day that they did what they did for me, because I know if they were, like, very sensitive and, oh, it's okay, I could only imagine what I would have turned out, because even though, yes, I did, you know, probably things I wasn't supposed to, I always, like, really contemplated, like, okay, do I want to get in trouble for this? Is this worth it? And I sat and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to get in trouble. You know, I knew what was going to happen. Am I going to risk that? And I knew that if they didn't discipline the way that I was disciplined, then I probably would have done a lot worse, and I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the morals where I, you know, that I've had and stuff like that. And so, yes, I 100% agree with, you know, loving your children and with the positive reinforcement, because it completely works. But in some behaviors and some things you have to be strict on, and I don't say, you know, spank your kids or you know, grab their hair, because, you know, I don't condone that, but it can't be love all the time. They have to know that there's going to be consequences for a certain type of actions.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, there will be, you know, and I'm actually a pretty strict parent. Like, and I will be that parent looking through their bedroom window. You know, let me see your cell phone. I'm going to check that. You know, I was raised completely opposite of you. My mother had a very strict mom, and so she was completely hippie about it, and love and flower power. And I mean, I didn't have a curfew. I didn't have rules. I never got spanked. I never got grounded. I mean, I don't even know what I was disciplined, because I don't think I got any discipline. But I was able to do whatever I wanted, and I turned out fine. So, I mean, you know, some aspect it's the child, some it's the parenting. It's really hard to tell, you know, just do the right thing. I guess that's right in your heart.
You just have to make the choices, like I told my husband, because when we found out we were pregnant, we both sat down and we talked about everything we wanted to do, everything we didn't want to do. We compared what we went through, and, you know, and we said, okay, this is how we want to parent our kids. And I know a lot of people don't really agree with some of the things that we do, but in the end, when they grow up, we're the parents, we're the ones that are going to be living with. Did they end up in jail, or did they go to college? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you just have to do whatever
works for you.
And
your family.
Right, because then you're going to be the one with your friends. And your kid's going to suffer.
What you're saying about talking to your husband is just, you really do have to be on the same page as your partner, because you can't have one person constantly undermining the other one. You really have to have that partner there to back you up. And especially, I know that there's times where, you know, my nerves are frayed, and I'm not parenting to the best of my ability. You know, I'm more snippy than I used to be, and same thing for my husband. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's helpful to have that person there to be like, hey,
check and balance.
You need to go to the room, and you take a few minutes to yourself and calm down, because you never want, you know, and it happens where you snap or you act out of anger. But I never want to be that mom that acts out of anger, or, you know, who spanks because I'm angry, or, you know, yells at her for something that really isn't worth being yelled at for.
Yeah, you're just frustrated.
Yeah, you know, we all have our breaking points. And, you know, there's days where you're done.
You just want to cry.
I do a lot.
I think the hardest when my husband and I got together were, he had a daughter, you know, a previous relationship. Austin was from a previous relationship with mine, and we have Addison together. And so, but when Dave and I first got together, it was just Austin and my stepdaughter, and that was probably the hardest time to bring into the discipline, because my husband never really got to see his daughter, a whole lot. And so when she would come over, it'd be all parties and give her whatever she wanted, and she could stay up late. And then here's my son, who has all these rules and was, excited.
They noticed that.
Yeah, and was excited for her to have her come over, because then he's like, oh, then it's a kind of a free-for-all type thing. And so that was really challenging. And I actually... Dave and I said, look, we have to change this. We have to be on the same page. And each child, no matter they're here full-time or not, they have to have the same type of rules. And so what we did is Dave and I, we sat down together one night, we made the house rules. And I got big old poster boards and made it all pretty. And I made one for his daughter, and I made one for Austin. And, and it listed all the family rules, and a lot of it was the same. It was, no hitting, no, respect, make sure you respect adults, make sure you say please and thank yous. It listed each of their bedtimes. And we sat the kids down, and we had a family meeting, and we went over the rules, and we asked if they had any questions or anything like that. And then we posted it in each of their rooms, so they always knew what their rules were, and they always knew what the consequences were. Yes, we still had lots of issues after that, because then we also had, other people's inputs involved, and that made it really hard. But just by setting some of those ground rules too, but disciplining, and for me, I couldn't discipline her, just because it wasn't my place at that time, even though, yes, she was coming into our house too. It just, I didn't feel comfortable with the discipline, so I always had to tell Dave, hey, you need to, look at her, and that looked like, like I couldn't hold my own. So it was really difficult trying to blend our two families together, but we eventually made it work, and, and we love her, and can't wait for her to come over and stuff like that. But it was really hard at first. So for anyone having to blend those families, and when it comes to those type of situations, that's what worked for me for our house, and hopefully it'll continue to work.
Yeah. We have that, as well. My husband, I don't like to listen to the babies cry. And so, for example, if, my husband's in the kitchen cooking and the baby gate's up and Sebastian's screaming at the gate because he wants in, or whatever the case may be, he'll be crying, and I'm guilty of being the one that comes, oh baby, why are you crying? Let me give you whatever you want. And I am just terrible. And so I know I'm kind of and he's like, hey, he is not allowed in here. And I'm like, but he wants a cookie. But it's not always like that, of course. But, it's so hard to, be on the same page at all times, or, when you hear your baby cry, because my automatic response is anytime I hear anything in my house making a fuss, I'm like, pick it up, swoop, and make it all better, so we have to work on that.
Another thing that I was going to say was you also have to figure out what triggers your kid to act out. Because Desiree was pinching and biting and pulling hair, and I started noticing that when she was hungry or tired, ready for a nap, or if I was nursing Alexis and she wanted attention, she would start doing things just to get some kind of attention. Like you were saying, they want some kind of reaction from you. So you just have to also look at
I forget the actual acronym, but it's like, are they tired? Are they hungry? Are they bored? I forget all that. But yeah, same thing you're saying, triggers, and kind of one thing that we noticed too is with Lily, we really have to, like, if we're going to leave a playground, that's our recent thing, is if you have to leave somewhere, it is the end of the world. I mean, just carrying her out, kicking and screaming, it's the most humiliating experience. Yes. So we started doing the 5-minute countdown.
Yeah.
I think we actually need to start wrapping it up, though.
Yeah. Well, it was a great conversation, ladies. Thank y'all for joining us for Mom Talk. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next week.